6:52, time for the morning sprint.
We start with breaking news overnight. Madison police will be allowed to continue to use tear gas for crowd control. City Council voting on the measure at its meeting last night. The vote requires Madison's independent police monitor to review any use of tear gas within 30 days. But police will still be allowed to use it. Members voted 14-4 with one abstention. Just into the newsroom, a Madison woman facing charges this morning after police say she pointed a gun at someone after an argument at a gas station. It happened last night at the BP on Park Street. Officers say the woman asked someone there for a cigarette, got into an argument, then broke out a handgun, put her finger on the trigger and pointed it at the victim. That person had a young child with them. Officers found the woman a while later. She admitted to having the gun. She's now facing charges related to carrying a concealed weapon.
Happening today, the Federal Reserve is expected to make history with a rate hike. Another one. It's expected to either raise its key short-term rate by 3/4 of a point or even a full percentage point. The central bank kicked off a two-day meeting yesterday, and it's scheduled to announce that decision this afternoon.
Breaking news overseas. Within the last few hours here, Russian President Vladimir Putin is announcing a military mobilization for his country. This as Russia continues to lose ground on the battlefield in Ukraine. His address to the country comes one day after Russian-controlled regions in eastern Ukraine announced plans to hold votes on becoming part of Russia. The defense minister says 300,000 military members will be mobilized.
Tomorrow, Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Wisconsin. She'll deliver an address at the Democratic Attorneys General Association conference in Milwaukee. The visit comes just 2 weeks after the president made a trip to Milwaukee on Labor Day. Harris is also set to meet with local Latino leaders tomorrow.
An Iowa County man convicted of beating and stabbing his mother and dog to death will get the chance at parole after 40 years in prison. 22-year-old Sean Pickett now serving a mandatory life sentence. He was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide in that case. The Avoca man told investigators he was possessed, heard evil voices, and blacked out before the murder.
A Madison man will spend 2 years in federal prison for having a firearm as a felon. 42-year-old Dwayne Peoples also sentenced to 3 years of supervised release. Officers say they pulled him over last year after he was seen conducting a drug deal in Penn Park off Park Street. That's when they found the gun and a loaded magazine, which is illegal for people convicted of a felony to have in their possession.
Governor Evers' administration is trying to limit the levels of PFAS chemicals in the state's groundwater. The State Journal reports the governor is authorizing the DNR to come up with limits on the chemicals. That rulemaking process typically takes at least 2 years. Then it's subject to approval by the governor at the time, the Natural Resources Board, and the legislature.
8 people taken to the hospital after a building exploded in Chicago. Chicago Fire says at least 3 of those people are in serious to critical condition. The source of the explosion unknown this morning and remains under investigation. The ATF and the Chicago Police Bomb Unit are there to assist.
At the nation's capital, the Washington Monument is closed this morning after it was vandalized overnight. Police say they have a man in custody. They say he splashed red paint and wrote a profane message on the base of the monument. No word yet on when it will reopen.
America honors Queen Elizabeth II today with a service of Thanksgiving at the National Cathedral. All of the living former U.S. presidents are expected to be there. The Queen met each one of them during her reign. The service is private but will be streamed online.
A beautiful look outside right now. Plenty of sunshine, but cloud cover is going to be going into the picture as the day does go on. Temperatures will be dropping as well from the low 70s and then hanging out into the 60s for much of the day. By 7 o'clock, we are down into the mid and even some lower 60s. So your high of 72, that's happening right now. Temperatures will continue to fall throughout the morning. We'll go down towards 48 overnight tonight. Then a more fall-like pattern throughout the rest of that forecast.
Okay, Chris Reese, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us this morning, folks. Stay tuned right here to News 3 Now for another local news and weather update coming up in about half an hour.